everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Bella. I'm a Jamaican living in Argentina, and I'll be sharing with you my experience with racism in Argentina. Now, we know that Argentina is the recent champion of the World Cup, and so a lot of persons are becoming interested in visiting Argentina, and we know that this is always a topic that comes up when it comes to traveling. So I'm going to share my experience from my perspective, and then you can also share your experiences if you've been in Argentina and you're a Black person, and let us know what you've experienced. Now, I know that this is a very touchy topic. I already did a video about a year ago, so I wanted to share like actualized information, even though much hasn't changed, but I just wanted to do a more recent video so that, persons who want to come and visit the country can actually have an idea of what it is like. And I know that someone's experience with racism is I think it's subjective. It depends on perspective, depends on where you're coming from, what the culture is like in your country. It depends on how you are as a person. It depends on the culture of the persons that you're interacting with. So I think that before coming to Argentina, or before visiting any country at all, we should always try to study the culture of the environment to know what it is like, and maybe we'll be less we'll have less problems, because some things that we may consider to be racism, for the other person it's just probably just them being normal or being themselves, or they're just probably being horrible persons, and it has nothing to do with you specifically or the color of your skin. Okay, so to share pretty much my experience, I must say that living here in Argentina, I've never experienced I can say I've experienced any form of racism. Obviously, there are things that I've experienced that are probably not favorable, but those are very minimal, and I wouldn't personally classify them as as racism, because I understand the culture more or less, and I understand that that's just how Argentines are. Regardless of who you are, they're gonna say those things. So I don't really classify them as being racism. Other persons may consider it to be racism, but I don't. So I'm just sharing from my experience. And if you're a Black person that has visited Argentina and you've had a bad experience, then you can always share it. I mean, everyone's experiences should be validated. Now, what I want to share is that I don't think that racism is a big problem in Argentina. Obviously, you have different types of people. You have good people, you have bad people all over. But generally speaking, I don't think racism is an issue. I have friends that are from all over the world, from different countries in Africa, from Haiti, from Jamaica, from wherever. They're dark skinned, darker than me, and they're in different aspects. I have friends that are doctors, friends that are nurses, friends that work in different areas, and they've never said that they have had any experience with racism here. So I think all in all, considering the fact that Argentina recently has been having like a direct interaction with Black people, I think it's something that it's commendable, and I don't think that a Black person should be scared to come here, or to come here and feel that, okay, they'll be discriminated against because of the color of their skin. Obviously, there are people that may do it, but to be honest, I don't think that will be a big issue, or maybe the majority of the persons will not do that. I've had very favorable experiences with Argentines. I'm on the street, and if I need help, I can just literally go up to anyone. They'll help me. I don't feel scared going about. I don't feel like if I go to a restaurant, I won't be attended to well. I don't feel like that. I just feel like I'm just another human being here. I've said to some persons before that most times I don't even realize that I'm Black. Initially, yes, because people would stare, but that's it. But it's not because I was treated badly. So I don't know. I have to be very careful with this topic, because some persons will say, oh, because it's this, so you're lying, or that. No, I'm not. I'm just really sharing my personal experience. Okay. Now, there are two things that I think that people may experience being here. There's a little bit of xenophobia and maybe classism. And these things are not related to your skin color, but sometimes people associate Black people with poverty more. So in that sense, yeah, people might be a little bit scared. But as it relates to xenophobia, it depends on which country you're coming from and how long you plan to stay in Argentina. if you come here, and the reason for coming here too. So if you come here just to visit, go around, do your thing, no one really cares. If you're here to like live, to probably study, stuff like that, then they'll probably to start having a problem, and they'll start to question why you here, do you plan to leave, stuff like that, because they feel like they have a need to like protect their, country, and they don't want too many foreigners coming in and probably taking their positions in the workplace or in the society as they may consider it. And while we know that migration and immigration is something that happens all the time, everyone still wants to protect their property, wants to protect their island, especially if they believe that they have something good that, other persons are craving for, because they just want to feel like, their people are going to be protected and not, be invaded, for want of a better word. So in that sense, I understand. And not to say that, I'm in favor of xenophobia, but I'm just saying that I can understand where they're coming from, because, whether or not we want to accept it, we are all like that with our own countries and with our own property. Now, as it relates to classism, they treat some persons, not everyone, in certain settings and in certain social settings, you will probably be treated a certain way based on how you appear, or based on how they perceive you, or based on how much you have to offer, how much money you have, the country that you're coming from. Is it a first world country? But I'm not saying that that's something that's going to happen all the time. But it depends on the setting. If you're in a setting where you have a lot of higher class people, or people that are well off, then that may be a factor that they'll take into play or take into consideration. And it's not because of the color of your skin per se, but it's just because of who you are as a person. They would do the very same thing to another Argentine that's probably not on their level. So I just want to say these things to clarify that if you probably have a certain experience like that, don't think that, oh, it's because of the color of my skin. No, it's just how they are. Okay, so I recently shared a video talking about racism, and I did it in Spanish, so most of the persons that watched it and responded were Argentines, and those things really kind of like brought certain things into perspective. That in Argentina, they'll use the word, in some countries, if you say nigger or black, it's considered to be, it's racism. But here they use it a lot to talk in a form like a friendly, charismatic way. So they'll call their kids like, oh, mi negrito, or my little black one, even though the person is probably white. It's like they don't use it to refer to color per se, but they just use it like in a sweet way. But they will also use that word if they're, really angry with you and they're trying to insult you. They'll use it, but they'll still use it to refer to a white person and not necessarily a black person. So it's like, not to say that if they're using that word to using an insult or to curse someone, it's good, but it's just to understand the context that it's not going specifically towards black people, but it's just a way that they express themselves generally. And also, another thing that they brought into perspective was that most of them were like, they are really curious when they see foreigners. And because before they didn't really see a lot of black persons, they may be super interested. So they want to know more about your culture. So that's why they'll come up to you and ask you questions. They probably stare to, all those things. They're not necessarily being rude or want to be rude, but they're just super curious and they want to know more. So if you come here and you find that people are staring at you a lot, don't necessarily take it in a bad way, because they're just curious and they're not trying to be mean. And then now I'll just be sharing some things that I've experienced specifically being a black person in Argentina. Now, the first one is that they tend to compliment you a lot. They're always like, oh my gosh, I like your skin, or your hair is so pretty, or they'll just be, giving you a nice smile and just telling you nice things, that you're beautiful and all that. I've experienced that a lot. Not sure about other persons. I can only speak for myself in this regard. And also, I guess it depends on where you are. If you're probably in Buenos Aires, they're used to seeing black people, so you're probably just going to be just another one. But if you're in smaller towns or cities, then you'll probably have like people have a greater interest, because they don't see a lot of black persons a lot. And yeah, just to add to that point, that if you're in a place where they don't see a lot of black persons, they will stare a lot. A lot. I remember when I just came to Argentina like 9 years ago, it was just few black persons in Rosario, that's the city that I live in, and they would just stare away. Like sometimes the bus would pass, and then everyone on the bus would just turn and just look at you, and it's like a dead stare. It's not like they're just looking and looking away. They're just like looking like. And when I posted the video and I talked about it, some Argentines they were like they're just in awe because they like to see our complexion, they like to see our hair and stuff like that. So it's unique. And I understand it too, because if we could flip the script. If a white person goes to a country that is predominantly black and they've never really seen whites, they will do the same thing. So in all honesty, we have to be fair and just to know that if it's something that's strange or weird, people are going to stare. Okay, another experience that I've had as a black person is that people always want to touch my hair. Like they're always just so fascinated because they're just used to probably a certain texture, long, straight hair, and when they see your hair looking like this, they always want to touch it. I understand that some people really don't like it. For me, I don't have a problem because if someone is curious and I just feel okay with them, satisfying their curiosity. So I don't have a problem. If you have a problem with not having your hair touched, you can say to them respectfully that, I don't like when people touch my hair and all of that. But if you don't have a problem, then fine, go ahead, let them have the experience of knowing what it's like to touch this type of hair. Or maybe you could just probably, we could have some more dolls with this. That's a good idea. Get some dolls with this texture here in Argentina so that they'll know what it feels like. Because for me, I've always played with dolls with long hair, so I knew what this is like. So I've never really asked them to touch their hair. But I think for us, like there weren't a lot of dolls with our texture here, so probably they never had that introduction. So maybe that's why they're even more curious. But that's an idea. Another thing that I get asked a lot, I get asked a lot of questions in Argentina about where I'm from, what I'm doing here, what is my country like, what is the situation like in my country economically, because they're just curious. They're like, okay, you're different. Tell us more about you. Tell us more about your country. And sometimes I felt like those questions were a bit too personal for someone that I'm meeting for the first time. But then in the video that I did, they told me that, it's just the Argentine culture. I tend to feel like if they meet you for the first time, they're just like, they know you well enough to ask you those questions. It's just a part of their culture. Not to say it's an excuse for them to be asking such personal questions. If you don't like those questions, of course, you can always tell them that, okay, I don't feel like I need to share this with you because I don't know you well enough, and just move on. But don't be rude about it, because it's not like they're trying to be rude based on what they've said. They're just trying to get to know you more. Oh, be prepared for those photos. Like, there's so many pictures of me going around that I don't even know where they are right now, because people are always wanting to take pictures with you. And I know that this is also a very tricky topic because some persons feel offended, like, why are you taking pictures of me? I'm not a monkey in a zoo or whatever. But I just try to be, put myself in their shoes. Like they're seeing something that's new, unique, and they're fascinated, and they probably want to just capture the moment. That's me too. When I see something that's unique or something that, calls my attention, I really want to take a picture of it. So I don't have a problem taking pictures with them. And I just think it's just a good way for, I don't know, to make them happy, because they're like, oh, I met someone that's different, that's unique, and I think that's fine too. I don't know, what do you think? Do you know, if you're a black person and when you travel, do you normally have problems when they ask to take pictures with you? Okay, another thing is that they will more than likely call you morocha. Now, first of all, I thought that morocha meant they were referring to the color of your skin. That's what I thought. But then I was being told that they'll call you morocha if you have black hair. That one was unique for me. So in case you hear them call you morocha, you have black hair, they call you morocha, just be aware that's just like a nice, sweet way of them, referring to someone with black hair, which I guess most black people have black hair anyway. So That's why most black people will be called morocha, while the little girls and the guys will be called morocho. So if someone calls you that, don't be offended. It's just them being nice and kind. Okay, so this is where I'll end the video. I hope that this video was helpful for you, and that if there's anything that you don't agree with, then you can always put it below. If you had a bad experience, if you had a good experience here in Argentina, you can always share it. I'm open to listening. Just be respectful, as I always say. You can share your opinion, you can disagree without being disrespectful. So you can share what your experience was like, what do you think about Argentina. And I know many persons are a bit iffy about Argentina because of the past, the stories that they've heard. And I've recently heard about those stories, and I do believe that if that's really how it goes, then it's really sad. And as a nation, I believe that eventually they are trying, because they recently put one of the black persons that they had in slavery on one of their dollar bills. And they also have a center they have recently put in a day for Afro-Argentinos and their organizations that fight for the rights of Afro-Argentines. So I do believe that they're making an effort to, make amends with the past. But I can't base my experience now or what I'll have in the future based on what has happened in the past. Obviously, the persons that did it in the past, they're wrong for doing it, but those persons are no longer alive. They're not influencing anything in the country right now. What's the present situation in the country? What has it been like for the past few years? And I can say that it has been a very favorable experience, not just for me, but for the many other black persons that live here and have visited here. If you've had a bad experience, I do apologize, because as I said before, there are good people and there are bad people all over. But come with an open mind and just come with good energy, good vibes, be confident, because Argentines love when people are of a buena onda. All right, bye bye. See you.